Summer 1947 doesn't arrive quietly. It arrives loud. Newspapers stack up, radios buzz, and the same word keeps returning: discs. By lunch, it's already 3 calls. A saucer over a farm, a silver flash above the road, something circling the river, different voices, same panic. On the same desk sit cases that can't be ignored: sabotage, espionage, real threats with real deadlines. Then the disc calls pile on top like snow. And then the instruction lands like a hammer. Treat every flying disc report as a normal report. Send it to the field. The 12th of August 1947. An internal memo lands on the desk like it weighs a ton. Not a headline, not a rumor, a directive, the kind that turns confusion into procedure overnight. It points back to a bulletin from late July. Every flying disc report gets handled like a normal case sent to field offices, checked, written up, filed. Once investigate everything becomes policy, the desk stops being a desk. It becomes a floodplain. The agent isn't choosing what's true, he's choosing what survives. Long. And inside the memo is the quiet confession. An early July report came in, and nothing was done. No follow-up, no check. The instruction is simple and brutal. Every flying disc report gets pushed to the field, not forwarded as gossip handled like work. The bulletin says, investigate each sighting to find out what it is: real, imaginary, or a prank. That sounds clean on paper. And it's not check it, it's report back immediately by teletype. Every sighting, every result. The paperwork becomes its own mission, racing ahead of the truth. The same guidance warns why people report discs at all publicity: hysteria, a joke that got too big. So the agent listens and asks the real question: is this a threat? One report isn't a light in the sky, it's an object on a fairground table, 19 inches wide, silver-coated, a little motor, a tiny propeller. And that's the trap. Some evidence is designed for attention. A crude build can still cause a serious response. The system has to treat it as real. Then he finds the worst kind of detail. An early July report came in before the new orders, and nothing followed. And the pile keeps growing. The bulletin doesn't ask for opinions, it demands action. Investigate each instance, then report back fast. So the agent invents a private filter anyway, because the order sounds simple until you read the fine print. Treat every sighting like a case, then decide if it's real, imaginary, or a prank. The bulletin even warns why people report discs: attention, publicity, a thrill, a prank that gets out of hand. So every witness becomes a puzzle, half fear, half. And it isn't enough to investigate, you have to report back immediately. Teletype first, letter after. The system measures speed, not certainty. The bulletin hints at the darkest possibility, that sightings could be manufactured, meant to spread hysteria. Once that idea enters the room, every call feels like a... Before the new instructions, the office says it only had 2 disc instances. One comes in on July 7th, and no investigation happens. The document says, those 2 early cases are all we had, and we don't plan further action unless told otherwise. And the pile keeps growing. The Bureau warns that people report discs for reasons: publicity, hysteria, even a prank. But the order still says, investigate. And the instruction isn't, look into it. It's, notify immediately by teletype every reported instance. Speed becomes the metric. There's no official checklist for the impossible, so the agent makes one anyway on scrap paper, under a desk lamp, because when the rule is investigate everything, triage starts as procedure, then turns into instinct. A shaky voice goes to the bottom, a confident one floats up, not because it's true, because it feels urgent. Most disc stories collapse into ordinary things: lights, planes, balloons, weather, distance. But the reports don't arrive labeled ordinary. They arrive dressed as... Here's the dangerous part. Every minute spent chasing the sky is a minute not spent on something else. One wrong call, one report dismissed too fast, or chased too long. The memo doesn't debate what the discs are. It only says what to do. Every report gets investigated, handled by the field offices like any other lead. So now a disc over the farm isn't a funny call. It's a trip in a government car, a visit, questions, notes, and a report. The Bureau's guidance is blunt. Investigate each sighting and decide, was it a bona fide event, an imaginary one, or a prank? And the rule isn't report when you're sure. It's notify immediately by teletype, then follow with details later. They tell him to treat it like routine, so he uses routine tools, standard forms, standard language. But the story on the other end is a disc in the sky and the paper. When investigate everything collides with reality, a secret system appears. Not official, not written. Instinct, who sounds credible, who sounds afraid. The fastest version of the story goes out first. A teletype message, clean, short, decisive. The careful version comes later, if there's time. Here's the whiplash. Early reports came in and slipped by untouched. Then the order arrives. Investigate every future report. One line hits harder than the rest. No investigation was conducted. An early July report came in, and it simply vanished into routine. The bulletin even imagines a method. 3 discs, maybe more attached by wire, released from a plane at high altitude, falling fast in a clean arc. The order says, investigate each instance, then classify it bona fide, imaginary, or prank. But the real filter is psychological. And the system demands speed. Notify immediately by teletype every sighting, every result, then follow with details later. The memo makes it official. Reports of flying discs aren't treated as jokes anymore. The bulletin says they should be investigated by field offices every report, every. Then comes the quiet confession inside the same document. A July 7th report arrived, and no investigation was conducted. The second report isn't a light in the sky, it's an object found on fairgrounds. Cardboard-like, a little motor, even something like a photoelectric tube. The memo even notes the motive. The finder wants publicity, wants the thing returned, wants the attention to stay alive. On paper, the desk becomes a battlefield. Sabotage leads on one side, each stealing it from something else, and the pile keeps growing. The memo's tone is casual. Treat flying discs as ordinary reports. Forward them, investigate them, send results, and the pile keeps growing. A flood of reports doesn't slow you down. It changes what you notice. The mind starts skipping details, trusting shortcuts, cutting corners. The problem isn't investigating, it's the lack of scale. A prank call and a genuine security threat both enter the building as a report. When everything is treated, the switchboard turns into a heartbeat you can't silence. Every ring could be nothing, or the one call you'll regret missing. He makes carbon copies of something he can't measure. One for the file, one for the chain, one for someone higher up. The directive puts a mask on the strange, normal report. Same folder, same clip, same process. But the content fights the container, and the agent feels it. Because this is how errors happen, not with explosions, but with fatigue. One folder goes into the wrong place. One follow-up never happens. When the field office sends results back, it's often thin enough to close a loop. A few notes, maybe a witness statement, maybe nothing. To survive, the office learns a new skill: closing, not solving closing, because the directive doesn't reward perfect answers. The Bureau warned about publicity and hysteria, and it's true. Attention spreads the phenomenon faster than any object in the sky. The policy sounds responsible. Investigate every report. But without criteria, every report becomes a trapdoor. The system can't scale, so it either collapses. There's always one quiet second right before the next ring. In that second, the agent tries to think clearly. Then the phone reminds him. Clarity is a luxury the pile. To handle the surge, people get flattened into data, time, location, direction, how fast, how high, any sound. The story becomes boxes to tick, because boxes are. The directive turns the office into a machine. Treat it as routine, process it, forward it, report it. The machine doesn't care if the story is ridiculous. Every routine disk investigation has a shadow cost. While the office chases lights and shapes, other folders wait quiet, dangerous, and real. Before the orders came down, the office admits something calm. Only 2 flying discs instances had reached them. and the pile keeps growing. One report came in on the 7th of July 1947, and the file admits it plainly. No investigation was conducted, not delayed, not reassigned. Now the bureaucracy locks it in. A bulletin lays out how to treat flying disc information. Once a bulletin exists, replicate it across every office. And it doesn't stay inside one building. The Bureau talks about passing information through established channels, field offices, maintaining liaison with Army intelligence. The moment you start treating discs as routine, you start mapping them. Like routine, pins multiply, thread stretches, patterns tempt the eye. A sighting changes every time it's retold. The call is messy. The teletype is decisive. Each step removes doubt until the final version sounds like a fact that never. The early July report becomes a ghost in the system. It proves what the memo admits. A signal can be received and still go nowhere. When an investigation becomes routine, it also becomes predictable. And predictable systems attract performers, people who want attention, headlines, a story. The memo is blunt. Every flying disc report goes to the field. Overnight, disbelief becomes an assignment, and the paperwork treats mystery like a routine task. One July report was received and never investigated. Not delayed, skipped. That blank space is the scariest thing in the file. The bulletin imagines discs dropped from a plane, wired together built to trigger mass hysteria. In that world, fear isn't a reaction. Investigate, classify, teletype the results immediately, then pass information through liaison channels to the Army. Officially, every report is normal. Privately, he builds a rule book on scrap paper because he has to. He's not deciding what's true. At night, the office feels quieter, but the workload feels louder. The pile doesn't shrink, it multiplies, and fatigue turns good judgment into a guess. Most calls sound the same: excited, messy, uncertain. Then one comes in different, calmer, specific, rehearsed, and the pile keeps growing. Once he sends it, the report stops being his. It becomes a message on a wire, a copy in a folder, a fact by repetition. In 1947, the sky starts behaving like a switchboard. Lights, signals, rumors connecting across towns. People look up and call in. He asks routine questions. Time, direction, speed. Too fast, but understanding doesn't, and the pile keeps growing. When reports pile up, patterns start to appear: routes, clusters, waves. But the human brain loves patterns, even when they're fake. The irony is brutal. The more the system investigates, the more real the story feels to the public. Reports become headlines. Witnesses create more reports. Under a desk lamp, every case looks equally urgent. The rule says, investigate everything, but the human reality is brutal. He can only choose one file at a time, and that. They call it a normal report, so he stamps it, files it, and sends the summary. But inside the folder is a story that doesn't behave like normal. The memo admits an early report was received and never investigated. No scene, no witnesses, no follow-up silence, and the pile keeps growing. When the order is investigate all, the system can't do it. So the real system emerges in secret triage, instinct, shortcuts. In the lamplight, dust becomes visible. Tiny particles landing on the memo like time itself. The order is still the same. Treat disks as routine. 2. A stamp is a simple sound, but it decides what exists in the record. One folder gets closed, another gets buried, another gets chased. The Bureau runs on a different kind of time. Tick, file, stamp, transmit. The directive demands speed teletype now, details later. This is the scary part. Mistakes don't look like chaos. They look like routine. One drawer closed, one note not taken, one follow-up never made. The directive was meant to bring order, investigate every flying disc report like it's normal, but it revealed a deeper truth: when you demand everything, you risk missing. And somewhere in that cabinet is the line that should never exist. An early report received, no investigation conducted.